Here we are, another episode of The Next Fix. Today, we've got a real advocate for people in recovery utilizing tools that work. And how does he know that they work? Because he's got a comeback story of his own. So today, we've got Deron. Deron, how you living, my man?
Doing great, doing great.
Yes. And so I'm so excited to see and hear about how he's helping people out, right? Because it's a subject that I've started dabbling in myself, like NLP and certain things out there in the space I don't know much about. And so I really want to hear from a person who has mastered these tools and actually helps people with them, right? And especially people in recovery. And so before all of that happens, Deron, what we always want to know and what every true human being desires, right, is that hero narrative, the comeback story. And so I want to know a little bit about your own challenges, right? Maybe some of your own rock bottom moments, because I know it wasn't smooth sailing. So I want to know like how you got into this space and what did that look like?
Yeah, so I think metaphorically speaking, it seemed like I was like kind of going back to what you're saying, smooth sailing. I felt like I was on a boat, but I was on a raft. And when the waters got really treacherous, I realized that I couldn't really swim as far as I really needed to. So ultimately, I was slowly drowning over, I would say, probably decades. So I guess there's so many moments that kind of come up in my mind at the moment, but I can ultimately say I was in my 20s. I started a gym, was doing really, really well with that. And then I came across some child custody issues, and that was like a trigger, and things just started to crumble. And from that moment, I realized like is just not right. Gym started losing money, started losing clients, and I just fell into like this deep, deep, dark depression.
So what did that look like? I mean, and hey man, we want the nitty gritty, right? So you're staring down the barrel of your own children, like not being around, or and so as a result of that, like I'm imagining it gets back into your like your identity, right? And things like that. I mean, how are you navigating it, or how bad did it get?
It got to the point where I actually lost custody. I have two kids now, but at the time I just had one child. It got to the point where I lost custody of my child. Like I have custody again, but during that time it was really hard, especially for any parent to be like, wow, I had custody and now I don't have custody. And it was just based off the circumstances where I ended up being with dating a client of mine at the time. And she was still married. She was going through a divorce process. So I always tell people like, listen, if you date someone, make sure that that those divorce papers are signed and dotted. Don't go for it's in the process. Go for it's done. Long story short, like we had a child together. She was still going through the divorce process. And they ended up reconciling based off of court process and court laws, and uh, that child is deemed to be her husband, which makes sense, right? It's like, well, if you guys are married, we're going to assume it's the husband's child. So at that moment, all the stuff that I was doing, all the legal stuff, legal father stuff I had was null and void. So that was a lot.
That's so ridiculous. I don't know how. I'm a new father, right?
Nice,
And
congrats.
And it's just very simple. It's me and my wife. It's pretty straightforward, but like you have these two worlds, like the law, right? And that was your cautionary, note there that society does have a law, and that particular relationship was murky to say the least, because that person was legally bound to another person, and that was your barrier, because that's your child. I mean, I can't imagine, man. And so to go through that so hard, man. And so that would explain, and that would shed a lot of light as to how a person could be severely depressed. I mean, that sucks, man. It's just, it's horrible, bro.
Yeah. And Ryan, what's really important too is I truly believe like that made me depressed. From what I know now, that wasn't what made me depressed. It just shone a light on the depression that I already had. Because even prior to that, like when I reflect back on my life, I was a very successful business owner. I was generating half a million a year. I was a 23-year-old kid making a lot of money at the time. Was in the process of opening up 3 gyms. And it's something that I've really come across with a lot of clients that I've had in the past, where they think, okay, hey, maybe making a lot of money is going to make you happy. And then I realized, like, here I am, got all this money. I I got a lot of attention. People are coming up to me saying, "Hey, you changed my life. You saved my life." And I'm just still not feeling whole and complete. Still feeling a little bit like an empty shell inside. Even when it came to the relationship stuff, I noticed there's a pattern in my life with that where it was I would get with someone and something would happen, and it wasn't like me stepping off the horse, it was like me being thrown off the horse. Like I had a hard time recovering from any type of heartbreak or end of a relationship because I realized I attached my identity to this person. Like, okay, this person, like the gym, is going to make me happy. And I realized over time, like nothing external can make you happy. Happiness is inside you. So it took me a very, very long time through hypnosis, which I'm sure I'll dive more into later on, is what really helped me to gain clarity in that. And it was one of those things where I'm sure many people have said this to you as well. Like I felt like I tried everything, like therapy, coaching, NLP, and not only did I do those things and try those things, but I became practitioners of those things as well, the NLPs, to where I was like, okay, well, maybe if someone can't, maybe I can learn these tools and apply it to myself. So,
Sure. And sorry to pump the brakes
yeah,
here, but so you hit on something that's such a massive lesson, or it has been for myself, is that you're checking off the boxes, right? Like you got a business. And so many people assume that when those boxes are checked off, like, what the heck is that guy's issue? You're doing 500,000, right? You got 3 gyms, you're probably in pretty good physical shape. Like, what's your freaking problem? And so now when that very unfair judgment comes along, and it does, and I'm guilty of it too. And I think most people are guilty of a bit of judgment, but what you're saying is that yes, there's all these outside um influences that should give you the green light to have fulfillment, but you don't have it, right? So it's like, because it is internal, right? You can, and Tony Robbins, right? He says this, right? And so it's achievement without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, right? Because it is, and it happens all the time. And here you are, a great example of that. But you had this realization that it was internally, that was where the strife was. And now we mentioned some of your external strife, which is outside of your control. Another person's legal marriage. You don't have a whole lot of control over, even though you caution people not to get involved, right? But it was too late. So here you are. There's an external negative influence, but then there's also the positive outside influence. And yet you're telling me that it doesn't matter because it was inside of you, right? That's the issue.
it all originates within you. So ultimately, I truly believe what we're experiencing in our life is just a projection of what's happening within us. So one thing that I did during that time frame in my life is I played the blame game. Oh, my business is not growing because of this happening. Relationship's not happening because of her or because of this person. This attorney's not doing the right thing. And if I'm not taking responsibility for myself, then it's going to reflect outwardly where I'm not taking responsibility for these things that are happening in my life. And that's one thing I would say is one key to happiness is to take responsibility, because no matter what you're going through in your life, there's always something that you can take responsibility for. And the easiest thing that you can take responsibility for is your thoughts. And if you can start with that, you'll start to see how externally the circumstances that are around you will start to shift in favor of your thoughts. And then you can start to become more in control of your feelings because of that, because your feelings are just messengers based off the thoughts that you have. Now, there's many people that are probably going to be like, Deron, I've done that before. I've done the affirmation game. I've done the mantras. Yeah, I did that stuff as well. What's very important to realize is sometimes your thoughts are being influenced by pain that is still being held in the body that has not been acknowledged. So that is, for me, the most important thing to do is to get in touch with your feelings, because your feelings, which there are no negative feelings, feelings are messengers. So I know someone mentioned it. I've came across this mentor. He mentioned it this way. Just imagine your feelings were like children. And let's say sadness is a emotion that most people don't like to express. And just imagine sadness is a child and comes up to you and is tugging on your shirt and wants your attention. You're like, no, 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 go away. Like, get in the corner of the room. Like, I don't want to talk to you right now. Right. And you can just change that label of sadness to anything else: anger, apathy, grief, depression, shame, guilt. However, if you do that, it's just like a child, right? What is a child going to do? It's going to come right back up. And if you keep ignoring it, what do kids end up doing? All right, if I can't get your attention this way, I'm going to find a way to get your attention. Next thing you know, what happens? Like, man, I'm waking up every morning with chronic pain. Now I realize that I only feel good when I have a glass of wine, and that glass of wine turns into 2 glasses. And next thing you know, it's a bottle every night, 2 bottles every night. Or you wake up and you can't even remember what you did all the night prior, because these emotions are being pushed down through things like substances. I I've been one that hasn't been really, I would say, use substances to help me through what I was going through. There's times like I had short stints of like I would just drink. It would just numb me out. The biggest thing for me at the time was work. I would just overwork. And that's one thing that people don't realize is overworking is an addiction. And I sent an email to my clients recently and I told them, hey, I want you to realize no matter what addiction you have, whether it be through alcohol, substance, pornography, serial dating, overworking, doesn't matter what they are. They're all just tools. They're all the same thing. They're all a form of you avoiding the pain that is still within your body that you haven't resolved. And once you resolve it, you'll notice that your need for these tools are no longer needed. Just like if you have a house and all the bolts and the nails in the house are screwed in and tightened up, there's no need for a hammer. But if they're coming out, you're going to keep taking that hammer out and banging it on the wall to make sure that those screws and nails stay in the wall, in the drywall.
I love what you said about emotions being like children. That's the first time I've heard something like that, but it's such a great analogy, right? I think that yeah, I think that you've nailed that whole process of how people really deal with it, you know. And I speak all the time about how a lot of addicts are smart people. Why? Substances, what they work in the short run. They work very well and they're cheap and they're easy to find. And so, yes, you're right. That one glass of wine, it does the trick. That's why very smart people become addicted, because it's like, oh my gosh, if I do this cocaine, it is most certainly going to affect me biologically and make me feel better for at least the next 10 minutes, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's foregoing the thought of what happens after doing it again and again and then the next day and all of that. However, in the very short interim of time, yes, it's an effective tool. Again, not taking into account what happens for the redundant and repetitive use and all that. But yes, it's like you mentioning the hammer with the house. It's like people go to it because it has worked. It's done well and it's pretty reliable. So it's such a hard challenge to talk somebody out of it because, you know, on the surface, it's a great solution. It's like, well, you telling me I could just go to the corner store and spend $10 and I'm going to have to not think about all this stuff? Sign me up. And that's what happens. And that's how it begins. And so then people are, you know, foregoing, you know, the long-term effects, of course, but, you know, it takes, what do you think it takes for somebody to come to that realization that you just made, that, you know, there's a reason underneath me going to this tool? Like, what do you think, in your opinion, you know, matters the most for somebody to kind of get that epiphany?
The most important thing is for people to realize that they don't have a problem. They have an emotion that needs to be processed. That's really it. I can stand on any mountain in the world and say that as loud as I can, because that is what it is. We don't have problems. We have emotions that need to be resolved. And it goes back to what I said: emotions aren't problems, they're messengers. Just like if you were walking and you pull the door prematurely and you stub your toe, there's going to be a signal of pain there. And the pain is there to let you know, hey, be cautious of this area while we heal this area. Because just imagine if you stub your toe and there's no pain receptors there to let you know that, but then you go out and you run 20 miles, right? That toe is not going to be able to heal because all that constant pressure and impact is going to prevent it. Now, that's no different than what people do. They have pain. I don't like this pain, but I don't want to experience it. So let me go ahead and hop on my phone and doom scroll on Instagram, because if I do that, I just numb myself out.
Yeah. And then when I think of that, my knee-jerk reaction to that was when the emotion that we don't necessarily like shows up. First word that came to my mind was endure, right? Like to endure. But you're choosing to call it a messenger, which I think is much more advantageous, right? Because it's showing up for a reason. And maybe enduring it is a part of that of that experience. But I think that listening to it is like the next level up. Right. Well, how did you start doing it? Like, how did you start being able to acknowledge your emotions as messengers and then use that to your advantage?
Yeah. One thing, Ryan, you said about individuals where they're very smart. Being smart could be one of the biggest drawbacks that you have in healing, because when you're very, very smart, you have the ability to analyze, intellectualize, conceptualize things. But I'm pointing to my head because when you're doing that, what are you using? You're using your head. If you're using your head, how can you feel if you're thinking? So if there is, I would say that there's only one addiction that people have, and it's the most prevalent addiction that people have all around the world. And the addiction is thinking. That is the number one addiction in the world, thinking. People are using their mind, and they're trying to use their mind to actually solve problems. But when they're doing that, they're stuck in their head. And if you really think about it, if you're in your head, how can you feel? And sometimes people are like, well, don't you do conversational hypnosis? Yeah. But I use it in a strategic way to get people to actually get their mind to just turn off. So that way, whatever's in their body can come to the surface and then be emoted, it can be expressed. And if there's something that people think is very, very difficult, it's realizing that those emotions have been pushed down for 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years for people. And when it's time to come out, it comes out. Now, what's very important for people to realize is your subconscious mind is always going to do what's best for you in the form of keeping you safe. Your subconscious mind doesn't care that you drink 5 bottles of whiskey every night. If that keeps you safe, it's okay. Doesn't care about you making money, doesn't care about you being happy, doesn't care about any of that stuff. The number one priority of your mind is to keep you safe. That's what it is for any organism on the planet. It's safety. That's all it is. So if it knows that you drinking a bottle is keeping you safe from experiencing those emotions because it feels like you're not capable of handling them, it's going to push you to a bottle or whatever the other substance. So the key with that is to get your mind to feel like, hey, it's safe. It's time to allow this to come up. I use analogy with a client where I said, think about it this way. Let's say you're in your house, you look outside the window, and it's like chaos outside. You see cars on fire, you see people running around, just, robbing people. How inclined are you to go outside? And I'm not going to go outside. Yeah, of course. Right. So if your mind knows it's not safe, it's not going to bring that stuff up. However, let's say you look outside the window and you see people are having a great time, smiling, kids are having fun. How inclined do you feel like to go outside? Like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Yeah. So the same thing with your mind. If your mind feels like it's safe to open up, and I use the analogy of the metaphor of the door, to open up the door to go outside, it will. However, it's a matter of our mind and our body being in alignment to know, hey, it's time to let this emotion release because it's not going to do it in a stressful state. And so that's why people will overanalyze and exercise. Like, why am I doing this? Da, 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 da. They're causing more confusion for themselves and more anger for themselves, and they're getting upset. You're not going to release if you're angry. You have to become safe within. And people think, oh, maybe if I do calming techniques, relaxation techniques. No, feeling safe and feeling calm are not the same thing. So that's why it's very important to realize that, because you could be held hostage, but it could be calm in the house at the time, but you're still not safe. So safety is what your body needs, not calmness, not relaxation, safety.
Interesting. Now, just out of curiosity though, like I'm kind of prone for like risky behavior. I mean, historically. And so like I wonder when you're talking about the brain's like desire to be safe, like I feel like mine's broken. I feel like I'm perpetually jeopardizing my own health and even financial security. And so I feel like there's an element of myself that's like, doesn't interpret it correctly or something like that, right? Like I don't know.
If you feel inclined to like risky behavior, it's because it's stimulating.
Okay.
It stimulates your body. So if your body's stimulated, that is the way that cuts off that. It's like a rush, right? So certain people, I mean, you have people, it's no different than, once again, like other addictions that people have. They stimulate their body in a certain way. And if your body is stimulated, then you really don't have time. You don't have time to heal from something. And it's very similar to people that overwork. Like when I was that chronic overworker, let's say, I didn't have time to sit down and just be.
Yeah.
Because I was always stimulated. I was always on the computer. I was making phone calls. I was teaching classes. I was doing this. I was doing this. And like the only time I actually rested was sleep. But once I woke up, guess what? It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I was heading to the gym to teach class. And at that moment, stimulated. If at that time in my life, if I had nothing to do, I was hopping on the Xbox to play some video games until I had another class. So we are in a society where we're constantly stimulating ourselves, because what's really important is something that you can reflect on, and everyone else that's watching this, is what could happen if we were to just be there, doing nothing, just being. And I'm sure a lot of people are like, that sounds kind of scary. I'm like, yeah,
It's scary. Neil, like I have been accused of not being comfortable with my own skin. And it's one of the accusations that I was like, damn, they got a point.
yeah.
Like when I've been told that, I'm like, yeah, it's been a struggle for me, still is, right? To just, and I have personally, I can kind of be there a little bit more so through physical exertion. I use it. I leverage that, right? Like I'll just run. I'll run 5-6 miles. And then after I run a 5-6 mile, whatever. And then I'll have like this hint of like calmness because I've just worked it out, which is, not the most unhealthy approach that I've had, but it is a struggle to be, man. Stillness is an elusive state for me. And so, well, how do you do it? Like, because I know that you started, so, two approaches you can go here. Either just dive into the nuts and bolts of it, or if you want to share with us, like, how did you get involved with like hypnosis? Because I believe in it wholeheartedly. I have limited experience. So I didn't believe in it too long ago. I thought it was total bullshit. I was like, yeah, sure, right? Like people snapping or whatever, like the classic examples you had seen or heard about. But then I started realizing there's more to it. And so I want to actually I do. I want to know, like, how did you get involved? Like, what did it
Yeah.
look like for you, your experience?
I will say this. If for anyone listening, if they're really serious and adamant about healing, then do hypnosis. We'll say that hypnosis is the best form of healing that you will come across. And a reason I say that is because the person beside you or in front of you, they are not giving you the tools. What's happening is they are allowing you to heal yourself, because you'll realize that the only person that can heal you is yourself. So they're using the best tool, and it's actually the best and worst tool that we have, depends on how you use it, your mind. You can use your mind to destroy yourself, or it can use your mind to build you to become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And for those who say, hey, no, I don't believe in it, this is my rebuttal to that. You don't have to believe in it for it to work. That's really the best way to look at it. Majority of my clients don't believe in it, but they just are like, I see a lot of results, but I don't believe in it. Okay, great. Let's still sign up, and you don't have to believe it. Because my goal is not for you to believe in it. My goal is for you to achieve the outcome that you want. That's all that matters to me. So there's a difference between what you believe and what's true as well. So yeah, because for someone to say they don't believe in hypnosis is like, oh, that's interesting, considering that hypnosis is actually a natural brainwave state that we all have. And we actually all go into hypnosis at least 2 times a day, right before we go to sleep and right before we wake up. Not only that, but if you've ever daydreamed, if you ever got lost in thought, that's hypnosis. And in addition to that, we're all hypnotizing ourselves every single day as well. If anyone is having negative self-talk, guess what you're doing? You're actually doing hypnosis negatively to yourself. Such a dumbass. Why did I do that? You're programming yourself for more of those things. I use it obviously therapeutically to help you get out of this old, outdated program into a new program. I use the metaphor and the analogy. It's like a computer, where your computer, if it's set up for negativity, viruses, how could you be upset if it shows up a new virus every day? However, let's say you program it for an antivirus, and every time that happens, it kills off that virus. What's going to happen? It's going to run smoother. You're going to update it. You're going to improve it. Our mind is designed that way. We're just program it for what we desire, instead of us running on autopilot and continuing to program it based off what we don't desire. I don't like this. I keep doing this. Why do I do this? Asking these questions that are just perpetuating this constant loop. So how I got into it is I started off doing more of a traditional hypnotherapy approach. The traditional approach would be me telling someone, okay, hey, all right, Ryan, just go ahead and close your eyes and relax, and we're going to count down a couple stairs and just da-da-da-da-da. And over time, I realized that format, which is called more direct hypnotherapy, is helpful for about 20% of the population. And I would say, as time goes on, it's going to be helpful for less and less of those individuals. The reason why is, my theory is, we have that analytical mind that is questioning everything. It's so much more stimulated now because everyone's an expert nowadays. You have AI, you have Chat GPT. You go online and you realize, wait a minute, I went to high school with this kid. How is he an expert on all these things? Well, Chat GPT can make you an expert on all these things. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. Google, right? Like, easily one simple prompt. Next thing you know, you have a whole 300-page, book that you can sell. So that is making people more analytical, because if I were to be like, okay, Ryan, go ahead and close your eyes and count down, look at these stairs, your analytical mind is already kicked on. It's like, okay, what color should these stairs be? Oh, wait, like, what's the width of these stairs? That pulls you out of your body. My approach that I do now is conversationally. So it's very permissive. It's very open-ended. And I use a lot of language to help an individual just get into that particular state. Just like as I'm talking right now, you're in that state, but the moment I mention that, you're going to be like, oh, what is he talking about? And then you start to nod. And then there, just like that. Because even right now, you're nodding as I'm speaking, and that's called a hypnotic nod. And what is that? That's your mind, unconscious mind, is agreeing with everything that I'm saying. So even if I were to tell someone, if someone's like, yeah, I don't believe in being hypnotized, I don't believe in it, that's okay. Because your mind's saying, I believe it. I believe it. So our body is only a conduit of our unconscious mind. And this is how come people say, don't believe what I say, but watch what I do, because your unconscious mind is your body. So when people have an illness and people have sickness, that is their unconscious mind. So it's really insightful to tap into it because that's the somatic part. So as I said, I'm just using language to help an individual bypass that analytical, what they call critical faculty, which is like the security guard of your mind. I'm like slipping him a $20 bill, like, hey, go ahead and go have a drink. So that way I can talk to this girl over
Well, hey,
here.
man, we don't be telling people to go have a drink, even the
Oh
security.
yeah, yeah.
No,
I'm telling them go to the gas station and buy some Doritos or something because I want to get into this club.
but that's it's so useful and kind of touching on how my beliefs, when I heard a hypnosis, I had a belief about hypnosis. And so what changed that for me to be okay with it and think that it's legitimate and it has efficacy, right? Well, because somebody called it neuro-linguistic programming. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, that sounds way better to me. My beliefs were like what did you call it? The critical, what was it?
A critical faculty.
Critical faculty went to the damn gas station, got the hell out of there. And I'm like, oh, because it's neuro-linguistic programming. That's okay with me. My belief says that it has real efficacy, not hypnosis. And so if that was my security guard taking off, I was like, okay, I could believe in that. And so that was exactly what happened. It was for myself. And then again, I have dabbled. And so for yourself, right? So you're starting, and now you started touching into kind of your initial approach, which you think is not as successful because of what's happening with AI and things like that, and how people are changing in our society. And so what does that conversational approach look like in contrast to the traditional like countdown and then that kind of?
Yeah, so the traditional approach is conversation, and we're just on Zoom or in person. We're just having a conversation, and the conversation is guiding them to that outcome that they want, because I'm using particular things to help them get into that state of trance. Because once they're in trance, then you're good. Like, okay, they're receptive. They're very open to it. Because let's say someone's like, nope, I don't want to be hypnotized, and they're on guard. It's like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'll still be able to get around it because it's just a natural state. So it's just using very permissive language that's very subtle. And it's like, and it's something that it's being very indirect. So it would be like someone, and it's funny because we all do it to ourselves and other people, and we just don't know it. It would be like someone saying like, man, I'm really, really hungry. And then someone's like, you know what? I'm getting hungry too. Right? Like, how did that person just all of a sudden become hungry? Because that one individual indirectly stated, I'm getting hungry. And you know what? I would love a juicy burger right now. Like, oh man, that would just sound so good and taste so good. And not only that, however, like I could just feel like my eyes like celebrating in joy because of this burger I'm about to bite into. And then they tell that to that one person. And next thing you know, that person leaves from wherever they are, and then they stop at a fast food chain and get a burger. And they're like, I don't know why I'm craving a burger right now. Because they were indirectly, it was a suggestion for them given to them indirectly. A lot of marketing is that way. And it's funny because I explained to people that a lot of the marketing is not set up for our advantage. So you can see billboards that will say, don't drink and drive. Your mind cannot process don't as an image. So
I learned that is so important to know that we cannot the but and the don't, minds don't see it. They only see that message. And so yeah, I agree with you, man. And that was something very peculiar that I had learned.
yeah. So though you can use those in the hypnotic sense strategically. However, I mean, to me, my whole thought process on that is, okay, you see this billboard that says don't drink and drive or don't do drugs. Like your mind's creating an image of drink and drive or do drugs. And then of course you get caught drinking. Guess what? There you go. $10,000 DUI. And where's that money go? Like, well, It's probably going to the exact same pocket as the person that put up that billboard. That's just my take on that. So it's very important to realize that there's so much marketing going on around you. And I like to say, like, my format is also very covert because I don't want a person to be on guard, because if they're on guard, then they're in their head. I'm just allowing them to feel safe enough to, once that security guard goes to the gas station, talk to their mind like, hey, I think it's a good time for you to release that anger. And they're like, okay. And then they release it, or the sadness, or whatever it is. And then the security guard comes back. It's like, hey, what happened? And they're like, something happened. I don't know what happened.
Right. Right. And so you use subtle and permissive language to kind of drop that defense mechanism. And then once that's happened and a person enters into trance, and then you supplant what positive, like a positive perspective, like, you kind of like do like a switcheroo. Is that
Yeah, it's implanting the positive outcome that they want. So
okay?
the only question I ask the client, because one thing is really critical for people to realize, is asking questions is coaching. Offering suggestions to someone is hypnotic, is hypnosis. So if someone's telling me, hey, I want to become a millionaire, it's like, okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and implant those suggestions into your mind, like you being a millionaire and you achieving this and having this and doing this and this and this. Because let's say they're in a waking state. If they're in a waking state and I were to tell them like, hey, you're a millionaire, that security guard's like, no, no, I'm not. We're not a millionaire. It's gonna be very, very analytical. It's like, I can't be a millionaire because right now my bank account is like withdrawn. It's like I'm in a negative balance. So that part is gonna reject those ideas. But when a person's in trance and that security guard's not there, you can tell them mind, which is the program, like, hey, you're a millionaire. You're this, you're this, you're this. And one thing about the subconscious mind is it doesn't reject any idea you give it. It only accepts the idea. So whatever you tell the mind, it's going to be like, okay. So when you tell it that, that is now your new identity. This is not temporary work, or, yeah, this is not temporary. This is actually identity work. This is you actually changing your identity. So this is how come let's say someone wants to become a millionaire. Now, the next day, does it mean they wake up and there's a briefcase of $1 million at their door? No, I mean, it probably could happen. I mean, there's all possibilities, but I would say no, that's not what's going to happen. What will likely happen, which has happened with a lot of my clients, I've had some clients that have made multiple 6 figures and 2 7 figures after working with me, is this: they've programmed their mind to become a millionaire. So now they think like a millionaire. Now they have ideas of a millionaire. Hey, you know what? Maybe I should do this for my business. You know what? Maybe I should stop doing this. Maybe I should do this. They're getting ideas, which I call resources, to become that identity state. Now you replace millionaire with any other identity. I want to be a person that no longer drinks. Okay, well, what is it? If you're not drinking, then what are you? Okay, I'm sober. Okay. So now that person can think like a sober person. What are they doing? How are they acting? How are they feeling? How are they behaving? They're now doing those things. The key thing, Ryan, is they're not doing those things with effort. They're not forcing themselves to do it. They're just naturally doing it, because this is a changing your identity. Just like you and I don't have to continue telling myself, I'm Deron. My name's Deron every single morning. Just like you don't tell yourself every morning, I'm Ryan. I'm Ryan. That's you trying to convince yourself. This is identity. You just know I'm Ryan. Just like I know I'm Deron. Like you don't have to question that. That's identity versus actually using conscious effort of, okay, I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. Like, no, you don't have to do that because the change already happened on the subconscious level.
And that's and this it touches on a few things, right? Because if you tell yourself don't drink, don't drink, don't drink, and you've got a drinking problem, it just doesn't work, right? Because again, like as we had mentioned, like your brain, your mind doesn't process the don't. It's only thinking about drinking. So and now simultaneously, you're saying when you identify with a person who doesn't drink, that's when you have achieved not drinking, right? And so it goes for a person who has never smoked. And this is a great example. It's been used before, but like, if I offered you a cigarette and you just have never smoked, you don't, it's not even a thing for you. You just don't acknowledge it. Like, no, I don't smoke. Like, that's not me. That's it. You don't have to like do any processing or self-talk or anything like that. It's instantaneous because it is your identity. It doesn't take any effort to say it because it's just the truth. And so that is the ultimate goal, right? But people go about it the wrong way. And they just white knuckle it, right? Like, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. And sometimes, and well, most times, there is a bit of what I call the trenches, right? Where it's like, stay the hell away from the liquor store. Like if, sometimes that is a bit of the white knuckling approach because, it's just foolish to leap that far ahead when you're not quite there. But I do agree with you that like, if you subconsciously can now identify with a person that doesn't drink, it's the ultimate goal, right? Because there's no more fight. It's just instantaneous and it's the truth, right? And so I believe in that so wholeheartedly. But in the interim is like the struggle, man. So I want to know, like, what does it look like to work with you? I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, it seems like you're working with a lot of people, and you had mentioned that you've worked with several people in recovery. I mean, I guess what does all that look like, and what have you been doing and applying with this, right? Like, what is that what you're doing? Like, is that your business model? Like, I want to know.
Yeah, that is the business model, and that's what's great about it. There's no homework, there's no task to do. It's just, what is it that you desire? Okay, let's make the change on the subconscious level. Done. And this is not to take away from all the other modalities that people are doing. I tell people, if what you're doing is working, keep doing it. Like, you don't need me if what you're doing is working. However, if you're trying to convince yourself what you're doing is working, that's a different story. Because you don't need to convince yourself. You either know that it's working or it's not working. And you have to be honest with yourself about it. Like, no, you know what? It's not working. And something that's very essential to know is when it comes to people that have an addiction to something, you have to realize, once again, it goes back to what I said. You don't have an addiction, you have an emotional problem. So you could try to white knuckle it. You could try to tell yourself, I'm going to do everything I can I'm not going to drive down the street that has a liquor store. Okay, great. Use a lot of effort. Your mind's more clever than you think. You may believe that you've overcame that addiction, but your mind's going to find something else for you to get addicted to. Because it needs a tool to help you with that emotion that we don't want to express or actually feel. And I'll tell people, yeah, those emotions, when they come out, it can be very uncomfortable. But that's the only way for emotions to be expressed. They have to be expressed. You don't want to avoid them, because think about what's happening is people's strategy is the same thing that they're doing with their emotions. I'm going to avoid the liquor store. Just like I'm going to avoid that emotion. You have to feel the emotion. You have to feel it. One of my favorite quotes is, you have to feel it to heal it. And sometimes people say, oh, Deron, I cry all the time. No, that's a surface level cry. When you have that cry, I say that it's called the cry. When you have the cry, you know. So a lot of people talk about a healing journey. I don't believe in a healing journey. I call it a healing decision. It's a decision of, I'm ready. However, you can consciously be ready. However, most importantly, your unconscious mind has to be ready, because it goes back to, I need to know that you're going to be safe. That's all it cares about. So yeah, the process is very straightforward. It's very simple. People ask me, how do I prepare for it? Tell them, you don't prepare for it. I don't prepare for sessions at all. I don't know what's going to come up. All I know is that they're going to get the outcome that they want. That's the only intention that I have, because I'm so intuitive with the process too. Because when two individuals are in alignment, what can happen is I can pick up information from them that they may not be acknowledging, and I'll give them that information and they'll be like, oh my God. So people talk about psychics and stuff like that. We're all psychic. We all just have to be in that aligned state to really receive information from someone. I mean, the more aligned we are with someone, the more information we can pick up from someone. That's all it is. And when you do that, you're like, hey, you know what, Ryan? Yeah. I mean, for example, it actually worked with you. Like I brought up something about running, and then you said, I guess 20 minutes later, like, yeah, I go out for a 5-minute run and just hit it. I was like, oh, look, I mentioned running. And that happens with clients sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like when you go to the grocery store and you pick up this. And then they're like, I just did that the other day. I'm like, I don't know where that came from because I'm not thinking about it. It's just coming out.
I love it, man. That's awesome. Yeah, but like I said, I believe in it now, and so I get this experience to hear it from real practitioners, man. And so I think it's amazing. Well, all right. Well, let everybody know where to find you, Deron, like how to work with you. They want these breakthroughs. They want their security guard to their mind to take a hike. Like how does it look like? Where do they go?
Yeah, so I'm active on Instagram, Deron_Singh. The same with YouTube, and then my website, DeronSingh.com. You can head to my website. You can apply to work with me there, and that way you can give me an idea about what's really going on. And then ultimately, one thing I like to tell people also, Ryan, is all I need to know is what is it that you want as an outcome. Your story. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a narrative. With hypnosis, it's great because you realize that doesn't matter. That's all it needs is what is your desire? Because at the subconscious level, that's what's going to be programmed. And whatever is in the way is going to remove itself because it's no longer in alignment with the new desire, new program that you have. So those are the areas that I'm active. I post quite often Instagram and post long form videos on YouTube. And then once again, my website.
I love it. And I think there's so much value in there. If people have the courage to like give it a shot, I think that it's very useful. And I love the orientation towards the future because I haven't found a lot of value personally with like reliving my past. I tell my story, of course, but like it didn't do me much good. I was like, I need to get the hell away from that, right? So being solution oriented, wow, I think that's very useful. And so I really appreciate your work out there, man. All right, everybody. This has been another episode of The Next Fix with Deron. Go check him out and get your mind right. See ya.